Hi, everyone. I'm Alice Crow. I'm the Pittsburgh lead reporter for Technically. We're a news organization that covers the intersection of entrepreneurship, tech careers, and economic opportunity for aspiring and established technologists. We basically cover anything that spurs innovation in the ecosystem. Make sure to sign up for our weekly Pittsburgh newsletter at technically/subscribe and check out the other stories on our website. Our mission is to make news accessible for everyone, so our work has no paywall. Now let's get into it. Today I'm joined by Sophia Fang. She's a former marketer turned founder of an integrative migraine care app called Peachy. Sophia, welcome.
So excited to be here.
So from my understanding, the problem you aim to solve with Peachy is partially a personal one. Can you tell me about that and why you were inspired to launch Peachy in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So Peachy Day comes from a deeply personal connection. I grew up watching my mom suffer from chronic migraine pretty much my entire childhood until she had to quit her job in her early 40s permanently because they got so bad. So it was pretty devastating to see her, especially as an immigrant woman coming to America, having to choose between her work, her health, and her family. So after seeing that whole experience, I actually started getting daily migraine attacks in my early 20s as well. And when I got that diagnosis, it felt like a life sentence in some ways of like I could see myself flash forward decades down the line in the same place as her, like in a dark room, incapacitated, not being able to live out my goals. So like after going through that and all the challenges that come with trying to find an accurate diagnosis and treatment, I was super shocked to find out that migraines actually affect 1 in 6 Americans and 1 in 5 women. So it's an incredibly common disability, the second most common in the world actually. But so many people are just suffering in silence and thinking that they're the only ones going through it, just like me and my mom. So the broader mission of Peachy is really to create a migraine-friendly, migraine-inclusive world. How can we create integrative medical and lifestyle tools that take patients from their very first migraine attack, connect them to effective treatments, and really support them through the 3 to 4 decades of living with migraine and chronic pain.
What's the current state of, research on migraines? What do we know now, and how does Peachy play into the current understanding of migraines and trying to help people who have this disability?
Yeah, great question. So despite migraines being so common, migraine research is incredibly underfunded. So for example, about less than 0.1% of NIH funding actually goes into migraine research. So to this day, we still don't really know what causes migraine.
Wow.
It has a really strong genetic factor, 60% if you have one parent with migraine, 90% with 2. And we also know that there are a lot of triggers and things that are more likely to cause migraine attacks. So I think where Peachy really offers insight and value is that we help bridge that initial information gap. When you first start getting a headache, something's changing in your body, what the heck is going on? Do I have a brain tumor? All of these wild questions are going through your head. And with our headache tracker, with just 6 questions a day, we help you track pieces of information about your health to start gathering and understanding and almost ground your intuitions with supportive data. So then with that 90 plus worth of data, we can then take you to a doctor or specialist and say, hey, let's get an accurate and speedy diagnosis and get you on the right path for treatment. So right now it's incredible like trial and error. Everyone's migraine looks differently, and there's no one cure solves all medication. So I think that's where technology and especially AI can play a really powerful role in bridging that gap between what patients are like able to input and do while living in extremely debilitating like chronic pain, while also still providing these valuable insights.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get into one of the things that you're going to release soon.
Yeah.
You're planning to launch an AI-powered headache tracker. So tell me a little bit about the tech behind this tracker and how it aims to help people who obviously suffer from migraines.
Absolutely. So when we first went into a headache tracker, and talking to hundreds of patients, we realized most people start in a place of not knowing what's going on with their body. And the most common complaint that they had with trackers is that right now everything on the market, they ask you dozens of questions every single day just to fill out a single attack. And you can imagine when I'm feeling like nauseous and vomiting and I can barely even get up, nobody's got that time or energy to want to fill this out. And it like creates also these huge communication gaps with your doctor, because if you're not able to accurately report what's going on in the time periods between appointments, that just makes the quality of the visits lower too. So when it came to like designing our headache tracker, we really built it on an ethos of like creating a common language of how do we balance the maximum that a patient is able to do, and also balance the like key pieces of information that a doctor will ask for. So we're not ever going to be asking more than what's absolutely necessary for diagnosis and treatment. And then the insights come from the AI algorithms and the personalization. So our product is very much built on the idea that like happiness starts with radically small change, and that just doing one small thing for 100 days is longitudinally is gonna give us more results than trying to do 100 things in one day. So by only asking a couple of questions, we're really dialing it down to the most essential, and then taking the power of AI to not only deliver individual personalized insights, but also in some ways we're creating the first centralized, like de-identified patient database of migraine information, right? With everyone putting in their daily inputs. Later, as we layer in medical and lifestyle treatments, we'll also see how people are responding to different treatments. So I think there's huge power in going in the predictive direction, creating clusters, and I guess and essentially avoiding all that trial and error, and getting people quicker, faster, and more accurately towards diagnosis and treatment.
It seems like your motivation is not just to, improve individual people's lives who have migraines, but also maybe a broader mission of creating more information or getting down to investigating why is this happening, what can help, things like that. Do you feel like that's like a broader goal for you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are two areas where this is incredibly important and expansive. For one, we know that migraine affects not only people's individual lives, but then also like your friends, your loved ones, the people you work with, so much broader. And in fact, migraines have a annual $78 billion economic burden in the U.S., and that's from lost productivity and healthcare costs. So just imagine instead of everyone just like going in these like chaotic like almost 5 to 10 years before finding their right treatment and support system, if we can like cut down on all of that, then that's bringing so much higher quality of life, and also like so many more like lasting societal health benefits, not only for like reducing healthcare costs, but also like getting us closer to the answer, right? Because I think the goal is how can we use data really to like make the invisible seen and also get to prevention earlier rather than almost being reactive in migraine care. I think the second component where this is powerful is like both on like a scale and a scope perspective. Like it's not just a US based problem, right? It's 1 in 6 and 12% of the global population, which accounts for over 1 billion people. So I think that there's a great potential to take the tools and what we've learned here and apply it to other geographies, as well as potentially maybe for other chronic conditions. If we're looking at like arthritis, fibromyalgia, endometriosis, I guess like parallel conditions where you almost get this statement of, right, sure, like you're not gonna like quote unquote die from this, but you're just gonna be in a lot of pain for a couple of decades. So taking a lot of those like behavioral changes and like tech-based systems and applying it to other conditions, I think could be really interesting. So I have a lot of ideas, as you can see, where Peachy Day could grow, and I'm super excited to see how our users and patients respond to that once we're out in the market.
Yeah, so, talking about kind of the success that you've already had, you founded your company last year, and since you've raised $150,000, how'd you do that? And also, what was that like when maybe you are suffering from migraines? Like, how has it been dealing with this and also being a founder and wearing all the hats? And could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So on the funding side, I think we've really stuck to the mission of like growing intentionally and growing with a social mission. So I founded the company last year while I was finishing up grad school and my MBA at Stanford. So it came out of a lot of student entrepreneurship research, and our first year was mainly backed by different forms of social entrepreneurship grants, including from Stanford. So very grateful to have those opportunities. And our most recent equity funding has been from AlphaLab Health, which is a Pittsburgh-based health tech accelerator, and also came with investment and mentorship from Allegheny Health Network and Highmark Health. So getting the support of a large health system like Highmark and the AHN so early in our journey has been life-changing, especially as we look into like how do we work with headache clinics or payers and the like in the future, because a lot of them have expressed interest in white gloving our solution down the line, and I think in many ways our tracker can and other solutions can be great complementary services to them, because we're reaching patients early and new to migraine and like helping them in those early phases, and then we can also identify who needs more I guess like intentional and intensive care at a specialized headache clinic, so we can directly feed people into those. I think when it comes to being a founder with chronic pain, building in chronic pain, the importance of personal health and wellness is something that I've really tried to instill, like both for me, like personally in my lifestyle, as well as for my company culture, because we really have to take care of ourselves and our own bodies before, as a fundamental in order to treat our users and our customers well. So I have to admit, it definitely is very much of a like living struggle and challenge that I'm still trying to work through. I think especially when you're a startup, you have such big dreams and goals of where you want to be, and then some days, right, like I'm on stage and everything's perfect and it's going so well, and then other days like my body just totally crashes on me, and the only thing I can do is be off camera taking calls in my bed, and I have to tell myself like it's okay regardless, right? Like I'm trying my hardest and doing my best, and trying not to put too much self-pressure on myself to push and burn out either physically or mentally. So that's definitely been something that I've been trying to work through these days.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm also curious because you brought up that you went to graduate school at Stanford. Before you were a founder, you were head of marketing at another local startup, Honeycomb Credit, for a couple years, and then you went and got your MBA at Stanford. So could you tell me a little bit about what you did to learn from those two experiences, and maybe the different things that you learned, like in the field versus in education? What were the different things that you learned during those times?
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of those experiences at Honeycomb and Stanford like have been life-changing to not only my like professional trajectory, but also just the way that I see the world and my values. My time at Honeycomb, it was my first job out of college. I got a chance to build a like national brand from ground up as the first marketer. So getting that opportunity, really going from a sandbox into trying to find the first like building blocks that work, and that like growth hacking mentality was incredible. So I was at Honeycomb for about 3-4 years, and during that time pretty much touched every single marketing channel out there. We were scaling email, social, like press, paid advertising, like doing more like guerrilla marketing, influencer, billboards and flyers, going out to farmers markets and talking to strangers. It really stretched me in many different ways and taught me to like roll up my sleeves, be scrappy, and taught me that like there's no task too big or too small. Not only for me, but also like George, my CEO, very much exemplified that. I think like with that mindset, and at that point knowing that migraine care was something that was very much my personal mission and something that I wanted to work towards, it really impelled me to apply for Stanford, because I think at that point I had a good foundation in startup marketing, but at the same time I had never read a term sheet before. Like I'd never talked to an investor, I had never done accounting or a lot of those business fundamentals required to be a well-rounded founder. So I think at Stanford my biggest takeaways was really being able to like at least be like not become an expert, but at least be able to read a term sheet and to be a little bit dangerous, or like know where to find people that can like who are experts and can help me in those areas. The second thing was that Stanford has a really robust social entrepreneurship program with classes, different grant programs, and fellowships, and that very much gave me the area to really just like focus on the problem first. I think Stanford's entrepreneurship like ethos is very much about like diving in and really understanding your customers, users, and the problem space more, rather than like finding the perfect solution and almost like hacking it into a problem space. So it's more about the people, and that the fact that if you know who you're trying to serve, like the patterns are going to arise. You can then build technology and pivot and run different tests based off of that. So it really gave me the chance to, talk to hundreds of migraine patients internationally and nationally, as well as like 50 of the 500 headache specialists specialists in the entire country.
Oh, wow.
Even from Stanford, Mayo Clinics, Cleveland Clinics, and the likes. So it really gave me a chance to go from, hey, like I only know how me and my mom deal with migraines, to really being able to understand the best practices despite not having medical training myself, and going from there. I think the other thing is knowing how to pivot and like building your validation experiments quickly. And there's always, I think, one thing that I always and early on kind of fell into was trying to make everything perfect, but knowing that there's no timeline. Like when you think you've got it perfect, you're already too late. So I still, to this day have to constantly tell myself, like, don't make perfect the enemy of good. Like we just need to like get this out. Don't get too attached to anything that you put out there. It's more about getting it out there fast, and like being impartial, and gathering as much feedback from the people who are actually going to use it, and see if they care about it.
Yeah.
That's going to be the ultimate determinant of if we survive or not.
Yeah. A couple thoughts came to mind when you were talking. One, obviously you and your mom have this problem as well, and you spoke to a bunch of potential customers. How much do you follow your own gut when creating Peachy Day, making decisions? How much do you follow your own gut, or do you follow like the feedback that you got from potential customers? Do they often align? Were there differences that you found? How individualized is this issue, and how do you kind of bring that to building Peachy Day?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think the way I would answer it is that I've realized I am one of my target users, but I don't represent all of my target users. So that's a really important like fine line to draw at times. So the way that I almost like utilize and is through like how I connect with other patients and clinicians and the like. I've found that, especially coming from a background as a chronic migraine patient, it's so much easier to build rapport with people, and also find community on like online chronic pain groups and the likes, when I'm like bringing this vulnerability first, and proactively showing and telling my story in many ways. So I think like in terms of like bonding with other patients, as well as telling more and sharing more to the world about migraine as an issue, that's where I've really focused my personal advocacy efforts as well, including going to DC for federal migraine policy advocacy. But when it comes to actually building the products, the features, it's really a data-driven approach, focusing on what our users share, how they're like responding and behaving in the apps. Even with like a recent example, as I mentioned, like we've been launching our TikToks channel and Instagram, and building a lot of migraine and headache content there. And it's really like focused on looking at the engagement, the follower numbers, the comments, like understanding broader trends of what appeals to our audiences. I think another thing when it comes to our target demographic, as we're working especially with users and patients who are newer to migraine, I have to remember that I'm already 10 years into this. So a lot of it is almost like going back to my mindset of what was it like early on, as well as bringing on really fantastic teammates who are at that age demographic or stage of their headache journey, so that we have a lot of diverse perspectives on the team to be marketing and reaching our users effectively.
Yeah, That brings up another question of how much, especially in those early stages, like where you are now, How much of it is marketing? Like, how important is marketing over any other task that you might have to do? Seems like, obviously you're getting engagement maybe from these posts. Like, how much priority do you place on marketing for Peachy Day?
Yeah, that's a very great question. I think it very much depends on the stage of the company, and also where we're at, since we are launching business to consumer, like really building that strong brand voice, connecting with patients on social media is one of our like organic growth channels that I'm very bullish and excited to connect on. And I mean, even in just our like first 2-3 weeks, we've reached over like 23,000 views on TikTok at this point, and getting some really good insights. I think at the core in the early stage, it still comes down to product, right? When it comes to like user retention and really creating a product that delights and is magical. We're right at the junction point of our company, where I think about the first year was really trying to nail the behavior changes and like building in the how do we take those radically small changes and turn that into something that's easy to use and daily ritual headache tracker, as we call it. But like now, as we're like shifting into the market and as part of our go-to market, marketing and like social media are going to be a big bet that we're going to place on. So I think they very much go hand in hand.
I'm also interested in what brought you back to Pittsburgh to launch Peachy Day. Why build here? I know that obviously there's a lot of opportunities maybe in the digital health space in Pittsburgh specifically, but maybe there's also downsides. I don't know if you could talk about what it's been like building here so far and why you decided to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say the opportunity to join AlphaLab Health was the big reason why I'm now a boomerang back to Pittsburgh, as we call it. My previous like startup that I worked at, Honeycomb, also came out of the AlphaLab software accelerator. So I already had a good understanding and like exposure to like how the program supports early stage startups in similar stages. I think also, especially given that we're a digital health startup, navigating digital health is incredibly complex. There's a lot of regulations. There's a lot of players, right? You have to usually like the person using the app is very different from the person who is making decisions at the hospital, which is also different from who's paying for the like thing, which is often an insurance provider. So really getting the like inside view and knowledge from Allegheny Health Network and Highmark on here's how like pilots are run, here's how the partnerships work. It really helps us like think through our B2C as well as B2B2C commercialization plans a lot earlier in our timeline. I think the other thing is just like the access to headache clinics and mentors specifically. So we've been fortunate enough to work with Dr. Andrea Sinowick, who at the AHN headache clinic, and she's been providing a lot of like fantastic clinical feedback on our product to make sure that we're not only creating a delightful patient and user experience, but also we're getting the information that doctors need for appointments. So she's been a great mentor there. And then our other clinical advisor, Dr. Robert Cowan, is the founder of the Stanford Headache Clinic. So they really offer a great balance of like what we need to get to our next stage. I think beyond that, like Pittsburgh is also a fantastic place for finding collaborators and teammates, especially given that our product, really combines data science, like a healthcare background. Those are like almost the building blocks of Pitt and CMU and the other universities here. So it's been really exciting to bring folks onto the teams with those specialized skill sets and personalized and personal relationships to migraine. So like as of now, our team in total, we have over 125 years of living with migraine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
50 plus years of clinical experience.
Yeah. Any downsides to building in Pittsburgh? Any challenges you've had to overcome? Is there, I don't know if this is true, but is the space a little bit more competitive, or is that not really the case?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, I think Pittsburgh has a lot of health innovation. A lot of, like a good chunk of it does focus more on life sciences, and that's a very different route of going down, FDA approvals and the likes. So there's a lot of like life science and therapeutics and the likes versus for us, we're almost closer to maybe like a Duolingo or Headspace, but for migraine, and really trying to almost create more of like a Gen Z millennial like migraine care brand. So in those ways, we're almost like straddling kind of like the software and healthcare space in those areas. And I will say, I think maybe like having connections and relationships both in the Bay Area and in Pittsburgh and the likes, there is a lot of like working back and forth in terms of figuring out like when we like plan out our fundraising rounds and things like that. There's obviously, I think, sometimes geographic biases and the fact that oftentimes, for like the big conferences or VC relationships and things like that, those things often happen, at happy hours or at coffee shops and the likes. So I think it just requires a lot more like upfront planning and scheduling to make sure those relationships and partnerships are built rather than happening maybe in a more organic space. So that is something to keep in mind. Yeah.
And any like lessons, unexpected advice that you would give to someone who's kind of entering the area that you're in, or kind of reaching the point that you are in your journey right now as a founder? Anything that you've learned that you feel like other people should know that they might not be aware of walking into it?
Yeah, I think one thing that even though I told myself, don't do this, Sophia, it was really hard to not compare myself and my company's journey with maybe like peers and where everyone else is at, knowing that like, hey, we're all building incredibly unique companies and startups, and there's no like one pathway of or like stamps or awards that like we're all trying to collect in order to get to certain places. I think more logistically speaking, what I realized adjusting especially to more of a CEO role is learning to like both balance like taking in advice from all places, but knowing that at the end of the day, like as the CEO and the founder, I'm the one who has to make the ultimate decision and make the call is something that like I've definitely had to adjust to. And then like finally speaking, as someone who is not an operations person, just figuring out the number of tactical things like getting the lawyers, the paying the taxes, the payroll, and all of that. I was like, oh my goodness, this is very new to me for the first time, and it feels like I'm always like slightly behind on every deadline. But knowing that like we're just all trying to do our best, and it's okay to go about that. The most important thing I think, in especially the early like validation and MVP MVP phases. It's just like make sure that like what you're building is actually what your users love and are excited by. If not, then like it's like, you know, the move is just completely scrapped. Like go back to the drawing board, like think again. It's better to truly like nail it rather than spending all of this time, all of this sunk cost into creating something that ultimately has 0 users. That would be a nightmare.
I guess just to kind of finish this interview, I want to ask, how could people, you know, get involved with Peachy Day if someone was listening and they suffer with migraines? How could they kind of use the app? What's the ways that you guys are, when are you launching, and kind of what's next?
Yeah. So we're launching later this month, mid-June. So it'll be available very shortly on the iOS store. Just search up Peachy Day, 2 separate words, and we should pop right up. In the meantime, ways to get involved. Like feel free to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We post a lot of like relatable, fun content, really trying to make migraine not just kind of like a very depressing or sad thing, but more about community empowerment and like funny shared experiences that we all have living with headache or migraine. Or if you're interested in like beta testing and like getting an early exclusive, feel free to email me at sophia@peachyday.co. That's SOPHIA, and would love to get you in as a beta tester.
Awesome. Well, Sophia, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for this chance, and it was so great to talk with you and share more about Peachy Day.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, Pittsburgh will be the first Peachy city.
Awesome. Great.